All right, so Theodore sent me some screenshots for an ATM, for some ATM settings. And he's asking if BlackBird can do this. So BlackBird can do everything an ATM can do and more, with the exception of percent. You know, I still haven't played around with Ninja's new ATM capabilities for Ninja 8. You know, I've just read the documentation on it, but I actually haven't practiced, played around with it any yet. And yeah, so interesting. So, you know, I didn't realize that now Ninja has a percent capability. Yeah, which is really cool. I like that. But yeah, currently right now, Bloodhound doesn't have a percentage measurement unit. So Blackbird can, you know, can set up all of this, but just not in a percentage measurement unit. Blackbird can use an ATR, which, you know, kind of approximates a percentage, but it's, you know, it's definitely not the same as a percentage. You know, so we could kind of do all this and substitute in an ATR, you know, to auto adjust, you know, the distances using an ATR. So Theodore, if you'd like to do that, we can do that. And let's see. And he's saying yes. Okay, great. Yeah, all right. Yeah, so Theodore's using percentage because he's using CDFs and Forex. So, right. Well, you know, I guess it doesn't really matter what instrument, you know, what you're trading. You know, even if you're doing stocks, you know, you could calculate a percentage, you know, from your entry price. So, yeah. All right, so yeah, guys, let me grab the two screenshots here, and so this would be a kind of a question of converting Ninja's ATM into Blackbird. That's kind of, I guess, what we'll turn this question into. Okay, so our second screenshot is the trailing stop parameters here. You know, so we got step 1, step 2, and step 3 here. And we have an auto break even. All right, cool. All right, so let's get Blackbird up and running here. All right, so you know the first thing that's required before you can run a strategy is you must have some kind of data feed connection, something. You know, either any one of these will do. You know, whether it's the simulated playback or a real one. So yeah, make sure you got the green dot in the lower left corner there. And then once you do that, you can right click on the chart, go to strategies, or use the strategies button there on the top of the chart. So let's open up the strategies window, open up shark indicators. Yeah, select Blackbird, add that down. There we go. And really the only thing you need to do is just enable it, like so. You know, there are some other options here available to you, but yeah, I won't go into those right now. So let's just make sure that you enable it. That's the one unique setting that all strategies have, is they have this enabled option here. So if you don't enable it, then the strategy won't run. It'll be placed on your chart, but it just won't be active. It won't be running. So it'll be sitting idle in the background. Give Blackbird a moment to load up its menus. All right, so next step is to open up the order settings window here. And there we go. So here's the Blackbird interface. Let's move that off to the side. And then we'll have the ATM settings on the right here. All right, let's see. Well, yeah, ATMs, if I remember correctly, don't have a entry order settings, right? That's just determined by using the chart trader or right-clicking on the chart. So, but in Blackbird, you do need to specify what type of entry order you want to use. So I'll just use the market order for now. Yeah, let me switch things around because that chart is always going to cover up my web browser. Okay, so we have 2 profit targets. So what this does is it actually sets up 2 order sets. So I'm going to need a second order set here, right? So order A, right? So order A here, this is going to be your first profit target, right? And this is your first order set. And then order B, this will be the second profit target over here. So, all right, so let's plug in. So we have a quantity of 5 and 5. So let's adjust those. So there we go. There's our quantities of 5 and 5. All right, so we're going to substitute an ATR, in lieu of the percentage option here. So let's go to our first profit target, and we'll just pick from the quick list here. It's easier if we just pick the 2 ATR, and then we can open up our profit target, and then open up the initial placement here, and then we can go in, and you'll see down here in the offset, the indicator ATR is selected for us. Now you do have some options here. You see it says ATR with a 20 period. So you can go in and adjust the period for the ATR here. So so if you wanted to do that, you can just open up the indicator here, right? So this opens up the indicator window, and you can go in and adjust the period for the ATR right there. Okay, so with that, and then the long factor and short factor, right? Factor is just another name for multiplier, right? So here's where you would adjust the ATR multiplier. What I'll do is I'll just say that, no, I'll just use these. Yeah, so this percentage number here, I'll just plug in 10 ATR. I'm sorry, the profit is 12.12%. So I'll just put in a factor of 12. So that would make it a 12 ATR profit target. And you can see that the short factor here, it reverses itself automatically, right? So really, for the most part, you only need to set up the long side of things, and the short side will set up the opposite condition for you automatically, right? So now if you do, now with BlackBird, you can set up different conditions for a long trade versus a short trade. Like for example, if you're trading stocks, typically stock traders will have different conditions when they're going short versus going long. Right, so if you wanted to do that, you could turn off the sync option here, right? You can see it's off, and now I could lessen the short profit target. I could set it to whatever, 7 ATR. So on long trades, the profit target would use a 12 ATR, and on a short trade, it'd be using a 7 ATR. So you take smaller profit targets on a short trade. So that is an option there for you. So, but for futures traders and forex traders, I think the vast majority of people trade, use the same settings whether they're trading long or short there. So we'll just turn the sync back on there. All right. So there we go. We have our profit target set up there. And Next, let's set up the stop loss. So it's a 10% stop loss there. Or, well, yeah, since I'm not familiar with the ATM's percentage, I'm kind of wondering, well, maybe that is 0.1%, not 10%. I'm not sure how they're actually displaying, if this display is actually literally in percentage, or if they're just displaying the, let's see here. So Theodore's saying it actually is 0.1%. Yeah, okay. All right, good. So yeah, maybe my ATR settings here are a little high. Yeah, let me go in and make an adjustment here. So what I'll do is I'll make this 1.2 ATRs. There, something like that. Yeah. I'll knock this down a little bit there. All right. So we'll use I'll just move the decimal place over one digit there. All right. So readjusted the profit targets. So let's go into the stop loss, and that's going to be a 1 ATR here. So I'm just going to select, well, actually, looking forward here, I know that we actually have a break even in here and some multiple steps in the trailing capabilities. So what I'm actually going to do is go ahead and use the trailing option here. So I'm going to go down and I'll use the ATR with the trailing option there. All right, so now let's go in here and make our adjustments. So I'm just going to adjust this to a 1 ATR. Right, so I'm converting the 0.1% into 1 ATR. All right, and we'll get to the trailing options here in a moment here. So let's just kind of finish setting up everything that we see right in this ATM window. So let's move on to target 2. So we already have the 5 contracts set up here. So let's put in our profit target of 0.2%. So again, we'll just select an ATR. And so I'm converting 0.2% into just 2 ATRs by moving the decimal point over. And right, what I selected from the quick list, was already a 2 ATR. So we're done there with the profit target. So next, let's move on to the stop loss. And that's, again, I'll just pick the ATR trailing option there. And then go into the initial placement and just adjust that ATR to just 1 ATR, like so. All right, so we have this window converted over into Blackbird. So let's move on to the stop loss trailing parameters here. All right, so let's set up the auto break even here. So I'm going to go into the stop loss, select the trailing actions tab, and we can already see that there is an ATR trailing in here. So let's see. Yeah, I'll just get rid of that. I'll show you everything from scratch here. So yeah, let's put in the break even first. So I'm going to add a trailing rule here. Use this button to add a trailing rule. So we're going to add a break even at 0.9 ATR, and it's going to be a break even plus 0.2 ATRs. So at 0.9 ATRs of profit. So there you go. So, of course you could, you can come up with your own naming convention there. So, but that's typically what I'll use. All right, so let's break down this break even here. So the first part is, we want a profit trigger of 0.9 ATRs. So that would be a initial delay, right? So we're going to delay this break-even trailing roll until 0.9 ATRs of profit is made here. And let's see here. Actually, yeah, that's right. The delay doesn't have an ATR option in it. So we're going to use the trigger on. We're going to move over to the trigger. So the trigger has more flexibility, more options when it comes to looking for a profit or a loss here. So we're going to select the profit or loss, right, under the trigger on. And then in here, we're looking for a profit. And the amount, well, that's going to be a 0.9. And then the unit, instead of looking for currency, we want to look for an ATR. So we'll select the ATR. And again, you have an option here to adjust the ATR period. So let's just go ahead and match the other ATR period, and we'll type in 20. So we'll type in a 20 period there. All right, so this break even, right, it's going to trigger when we get a profit of 0.9 ATRs. All right, and so, so once this break even triggers, then where do we move the stop loss to? Well, we move it to break even plus this 0.2 ATRs. So remember, I'm converting this percentage over to ATRs. So we're going to convert this into a 0.2 ATR. So the action here, the action is what moves the order, right? So we can see the type here is move the order to. So where are we moving the order to? Well, let's open up this menu here. And we're going to move it right to the entry price, right? Because that's what the break even is. A break even is your entry price. And then we're going to add that 0.2 ATRs. So we're going to come down here to the offsets, right? So we want to offset that stop loss from the entry price, right? From the break-even price. So let's open up the indicator list and let's select our ATR. And there's our ATR. Let's set that up to a 20 period, so that way all the ATRs are using the same period. Let's see here. All right, so we've got the ATR loaded in there, and now the offset factor, it's going to be a positive 0.2. So I just used the keyboard to type in 0.2. All right, so there we go. If we stretch this out a little bit, there we go. So we can see we're going to move that order to the entry price, which is the same thing as the break even, plus 0.2 ATRs. Okay. Now, if you're, just to kind of expand upon this, if you chose to use a plus, say, negative 0.02%, a negative plus, then in BlackBird, you would just kind of do the same thing. Just put a negative symbol in front, of your offset there. So, all right, so do that. And that's it for a break even, right? So the repeat, break evens only occur one time, right? A break even is a one-time event. So there is no repeat. So you just leave that alone. Just leave it on none. Okay, now the next step. Let's start adding in all of these various steps here. All right, so so with each step, we're tightening up the stop loss oh no, actually step 3 widens the stop loss there. Okay. All right, so let's break down, each of these columns and see, how do they convert over to Blackbird. All right, so step 1, step 1 waits for a profit trigger of 1 ATR. All right, so let's add another trailing roll here. And let's see, we'll just call this step 1. All right. So again, we're going to go to our trigger on, and we're going to select that profit or loss condition. And let's see, the profit, 0.1%. So that's going to be, we're going to convert that to 1 ATR. And then let's change the unit to ATR. And again, let's adjust our period to 20. So all the ATRs are using the same 20 period. All right, next, we need to move that stop loss somewhere. So what does our stop loss trailing become? It becomes, all right, a 0.1% or 1 ATR. Yeah, so it's a stop loss of 1 ATR. So let's open up the move to, and right, so stop losses, the stop losses, what is their anchor point? What are the stop losses calculated from? Well, they're calculated from the last price. All right, so the last price is basically the real-time price. Now, of course, stop losses always use the highest or the most profitable last price that the market made, and Blackbird does the same thing. Blackbird does that automatically. So Blackbird takes the last price, right, and it uses the most profitable last price as its calculation point, as its anchor point. So we're going to use the last price, and then we're going to set up the ATR again. And let's make that a 20 period again. There we go. And then what's our offset? It's 1 ATR. Yep, so step 1 has a stop loss of 0.1%. And so we're converting that over to 1 ATR. All right. Now stop losses, stop losses are always underneath price, right? Below price when you're taking a long trade, right? So your stop losses are always going to use a negative number, right? So the offset, is always going to be a negative number from the market. All right. So there, we've got the stop loss column set up. Now we need to set the frequency up. So the frequency, how often does our stop loss move? It moves every 1 ATR in profit, right? So again, we're converting this 0.1% into 1 ATR. So that is where the repeat, right? So the frequency is another way of saying how often does your trailing roll repeat itself. All right, so let's set the repeat we'll just set this to indefinitely. We could even use a repeat until, but indefinitely is just a little easier to set up. So we're going to repeat every, and we are missing, we don't have the ATR measurement unit in our repeat here. Just thinking if I could find a workaround to this. Yeah, no, I can't think of any kind of workaround for this. Yeah, so we're just going to have to use ticks here. Yeah, we'll just use ticks. And, keep in mind that ticks and pips are really the same thing. It's just a difference in terminology, right? A tick is the smallest unit of movement that price can move, and the same thing with a pip. So for Forex, a pip is the smallest movement that you can trade in for Forex. So ticks and pips are the same. So we'll just select ticks, and I guess I'll just set this to 10. I'll just move the decimal place over 2 spots and just convert 0.1% to 10 ticks. There. All right, so there's step 1. So let's just take a little recap here of this conversion process, right? So the stop loss column, right? The stop loss column for ATMs, right? It's your stop loss offset. It's the measurement offset from, the most profitable position that you had. So what that converts to, the action column here, right? So the action is what calculates your stop loss position or your stop loss price, right? So, and that's what the stop loss column is doing, is it's calculating, the stop loss column is used to calculate your stop loss offset distance, right? And so that's what the calculation is doing, or the action column is, calculating where are you moving that stop loss to, right? Now the profit trigger column, depending on what measurement unit you're using, the profit trigger can be either the initial delay column, or it can be the trigger column, and we could use the profit or loss option of the trigger column here, right? So either column works, right? So, but the delay doesn't have ATRs in here yet, so we're using the trigger column, right, to calculate that profit trigger. So, and then the frequency column, well, that's the repeat column here in BlackBird, right? Frequency, how often, so repeat is another way of saying, the frequency of how often a trailing roll should be evaluated, right? But repeat seems to be a little more appropriate when you're evaluating trailing rolls, right? So, frequencies are it's a more limited term. Frequency means you have to have a certain spacing, a certain or you have a constant. Frequencies are constant, so you have a constant evaluation there with the frequency, whereas repeat is a little more flexible term, in that you could choose to only repeat X number of times. You could repeat until some other condition happens, right? Or no repeating at all. So so that's why we use repeat, because it's a more flexible term, for what BlackBird can do. All right. So we kind of recapped, converting the ATM columns here, stop loss, profit target, and frequency, into BlackBird. So let's just go through and add step 2 and step 3 here quickly. So let's add another trailing roll, and call that step 2. And I'll just kind of go through this a little quicker now. All right, so again, our profit target, it's going to be 1.5. That's our profit trigger, is 1.5. And we're going to convert it over to ATRs since we don't have percent yet, and adjust that ATR period. And the action, this is going to be a 0.6% trailing stop loss. Yeah, so let's open up the move to and set that up. So again, let's in our offsets here, right? We need to set up an ATR. And again, let's make sure that's a 20 period, like so. And then the offset here is going to be 0.6%. Oops. Take out that one. There you go. 0.06%. All right, and the repeat, or the frequency, we're going to repeat this indefinitely. And since we don't have an ATR option yet, we're going to we'll use ticks, and we'll do this 2 ticks. Yeah, so I'll convert 0.02% into 2 ticks just to kind of keep the math simple. All right, there's step 2. Let's add another rule here. And let's do step 3, like so. And if you wanna sort these again, you can just hit the name there, and that'll sort them for you. So now our step 3 is on the bottom. All right, so our trigger. Again, we'll pick profit or loss. This time, our profit trigger is going to be 2 ATRs. There we go. Like so. Great. And our stop loss, basically our stop loss offset, is going to be 2 ATRs. All right, so there's the ATR selected. Put in that 20 period. And we're using a 2 ATR offset. Okay, there we go. So there we go. It says last 2 ATR. And the frequency is still the same. Okay, yeah. So so we're converting 0.02% to just 2 ATRs, since that's what Blackbird has. All right. So again, repeat indefinitely, and we're going to do ticks in direction, and we're going to set that to 2 ticks in direction. There. And let me just double check step 2. Yeah, I did increase that to 2%. Okay, great. And let me just double check step 1. Yeah, that was 10 ticks. Okay. Yeah, that is it. So that is our conversion. Okay, so we've set up the stop loss for, right, our first order set, or our first profit target. So we need to get all of these trailing rules into the other stop loss for the other profit target. Right, so if we look, right, these trailing rules are they're not the same here. So you have 2 options. You can recreate all the trailing rules again, just like we did for the first stop loss. We could just set them up again. Or what I would suggest, what's a little faster to do, is let's just get rid of this order set. And so, I set that order set up intentionally just for the training, just so you guys kind of get the training, and also so that you kind of get the understanding of, if you have a target 1 and a target 2 and a target 3, how to set that up. So, but now that you know how to set that up, here's basically the kind of the best practice here for setting up your orders. So, so you set up the first order set all the way, including any stop loss trailing rules. And once you have the first one set up, then for the second profit target or the second order set, you just simply copy the first one, right? You just copy A. And so now if we go into the stop loss, right, there is all of our trailing rules, right? There's all of our trailing rules copied for us. And now all we need to do is, let's see here. Yeah, the stop losses are the same, right? For each profit target, the stop losses are the same. So we don't need to adjust that. We just need to adjust the profit target itself. So we can just open up the profit target, click on our options tab here, go into the initial placement, and just adjust our profit target to whatever you want there. So there you go. I'll set that up as a 2 ATR. And there we go. We're done. So there's target 1 and target 2. All right, and it even copied the number of contracts there as well. So, all right, with all that, let me, I'll just kind of leave this stop loss trailing window open here, and I'll select the stop strategy parameters of the ATM, and I'll take a moment here to kind of read, see if there's any comments coming in here while I was explaining this. All right, so Theodore's got an interesting question here. He says, can he make an indicator that generates a percentage output similar to the ATR and use it instead of the ATR? Let's see. Yes and no. Yes and no. So I think the no part is the trigger. Let's see. The trigger doesn't have, it has fixed units here. So we couldn't use this profit or loss trigger event. Let's see if we can use one of these other options. Let's see, price versus indicator. We might be able to use that, as a substitute to the profit or loss. So, so input A, right? So when you're calculating profit or loss, right, you always have an anchor price, which is your entry price, right? Your entry price is your base point at which you measure your profit or loss from. So let's see. So we can set input A to our entry price. And then input B, that would be your custom indicator to calculate percentage. And so that could go down in here. So okay, so actually they're both, so input A, right, input A, its mode, the select mode is set to price. And input B is also, we're going to select price as our mode, right? Our select mode is going to be price as well. So that way we can select the entry price, right, as the anchor point, right, or the starting price at which your custom percentage indicator would be calculated from. Yeah, so this in theory should work. Yeah, it's too bad there isn't a percentage indicator. Yeah, range is not the same. Yeah, now the reason why there's really no built-in percentage indicator is because a percentage needs a starting value, right? You have to have a known value that you're calculating a percentage from. So, I'm not sure how you would create this kind of custom percentage indicator, but something from Lizard Indicators that might do this. Yeah, I'm not finding anything, but so just to keep on going here. Yeah, so to set up your, some kind of custom percentage indicator, I'll just use the ATR, as a substitute. And all right, so I imagine you'd have to have some kind of parameters here to give yourself a base point to calculate the percentage from. So, so anyways, yeah, you put your percentage indicator in there, and then, set in the long factor of it. So if your indicator, is calculating what 100% is, then in the long factor, if you wanted 0.1%, well, let's see. Yeah, looking at all your settings here, I'm guessing your indicator would calculate what 1% equals. And then, in the offset factor, you would, do something like this, 0.01. You just got to keep in mind, what decimal places to be using. Yeah, so that's how you do it. So, put your percentage indicator in the indicator section, and then you can apply a factor to it, or a multiplier. Yeah, all right, so input A, right, that is going to be your entry price. And then input B, that's going to be basically what input B becomes a calculated price, that is a percentage of the entry price. And let's see here. Actually, yeah, now that I've kind of thought this all the way through, actually input A needs to be the current market price. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So, let me just think about this for a moment. Yeah. Right. So in order to use the default long mode and short modes, input A, that's going to be tracking, right, the current market price, right, the last price. And so input B, this is going to be the calculated price, right, so it takes your entry price and then adds the offset of your percentage, that you're looking for, right, your percentage of profit, your percentage of profit that you're looking for. So in the modes here, so if we look at the long mode, it says when A, and what is A? Well, A is it's tracking the real-time market price, right? So when the market price is equal or above B, right? So remember, B is your calculated profit price, right? So we're taking the entry price plus your percentage offset. So that calculates a price that you're looking for, which is your profit, right? So once the market reaches that price, that means the market's reached that percentage of profit. And then that would trigger the condition. Yeah. So that would trigger the long condition. Yeah, so there's a workaround on how, of how you could use a percentage indicator to calculate, a percentage of profit. And then, let's see, the next step would be using your indicator to calculate the stop loss price. So, so again, you could just take your custom indicator and replace the ATR with your custom indicator. Of course, put in your multiplier offset to your indicator's percentage value, and then the repeat. They're just, as far as the frequency, the frequency distances. There is no workaround for that. This is all fixed. So that's going to be in ticks. No matter what. So there you go. So the trigger and the profit trigger and the stop loss. There is a workaround to using a custom percentage indicator. So interesting. So another thing you could use is the standard deviation, right? And that the output of the standard deviation is a measurement unit, kind of like an ATR, right? It's a distance, right? So the ATR is giving you a distance, some kind of custom percentage indicator would give you a distance, and also the standard deviation provides a distance, not an actual price, right? So when the Bollinger is calculating its bands prices, right, it takes the midpoint and it adds the standard deviation, right, which is that distance, and then that is how the bands are calculated, right? The price of the bands are calculated that way. I think the same thing for the standard error. I think it calculates a distance. Oh, well, that's specific to the linear regression. But standard error is also a distance, not a price, but a distance. So, Oh, I see. Okay, I see what you're getting at there, Theodore. So you're always constantly adjusting the percentage based on whatever the kind of current market price is. So I would think that would work. Your percentage indicator could. So if you're using a formula, just taking whatever the current closing price is of the instrument, just multiplying it, by 1%, versus using the entry price, because really all of these percentages should all use the same price. That price shouldn't really be adjusting, but that's all subjective, of course. So a workaround here could be, let's see if we can find something here that would give us this workaround that Theodore's got in mind. Let's see. All right. I think I've got it. So we could take the SMA, or EMA would work as well, but I'll just take the SMA with a 1 period. So an SMA 1 period is the closing price of the bar, right? There is no averaging, there is no smoothing, no averaging with a period of 1. And thankfully the SMA allows you to use a period of 1. So we could take the SMA, which with a 1 period, which will just give us the closing price. And of course this SMA, the SMA is going to return the closing price of the closed bar, the bar that's closed, not the one that's still building. That's how NinjaTrader works. And then, yeah, and then we have a long factor of 1%. Right? So 1 or 0.01, it would be 1%. All right, yeah, so in theory, this should work out here. Yeah, so for calculating the profit trigger using a percentage, that should work out. So let's just adjust this. Oh wait, 3 is 0.2. There we go, 0.2. And let's adjust the stop loss offset, which is also 0.2. You know, we took the long road, but we eventually got here. Yep. You know, sometimes you just gotta slowly talk it all out, and you can arrive at a solution if you just talk it all out and kind of take the long road sometimes to get there. Okay, so there you go, an SMA with a period of 1. And our offset here is 0.2. Oh, let me get that 20 out of there. There we go, 0.2 offset. Yeah, and again, the repeat, yeah, there is no workaround for the repeat, frequency here. So you could think in the repeat every is literally what a frequency is. So that's what we're doing. So we're repeating every, 2 ticks or so. Yeah. So we'll leave that as it is. And all right, so let's go through and adjust step 1 and step 2 here to our new formula. Yeah, all right. Yeah, there's no way to use the profit or loss, so let's switch it over to the price versus indicator option. And input A, well, that was the last price, which is the same as saying where the market is. All right, input B. All right, so that we need to use price. Yeah, take the entry price. Yeah, we do need to take the entry price. Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure that all my logic is right here. But we'll test it out and find out here. So let's see, we're looking for 0.1%, or wait, if this is 0.1%, all right, yeah, we got the number of zeros wrong, so we'll have to go and adjust that. All right. Okay, so our stop loss for step 1 is 0.1%. Okay, there's our SMA. And set that to a 1 period. Okay, so yeah, our stop loss offset again for step 1 is 0.1%. So that's going to be 0.001 there. Okay, and the frequency, yeah, we'll just keep that the way it is. Okay, so step 2, let's go make the adjustments for step 2. So price versus indicator, input A, that's going to be the last price. Input B, we need to switch the mode over to price. So now we can take the entry price and then plug in our SMA. Oh, there's our SMA. Let's make it a 1 period. And we want a 0.15%. Okay, so that's going to be 0.0015. There, okay. Okay, step 2, the stop loss is 0.06%. All right, so let's go and make that adjustment. So let's replace the ATR with the SMA. Okay, an SMA with 1 period. All right, so this is going to be, let's see, 3 zeros. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so 0.0006. All right, and again, our repeat every 2 ticks. Yeah, okay. So let me go in and fix step 3 because we're missing the correct number of zeros. So we want 0.02. Yeah, 0.002. There we go. Yeah. All right, an SMA 1 period and 0.002. All right, so that's our profit trigger. And now the stop loss is also 0.2%. So let's make sure we get the correct number of zeros in here. So that converts over to, 3 zeros. So 0.0002. All right, and again, let's just double check the repeat. That's 2 ticks. And, oh, let's adjust the break even. Yeah, let me go and adjust the break even here. So we want, 0.09%. All right. So it's price versus indicator again. So input A is the last price, just the same as all the other step 1, 2, and 3. All right, input B. We need to take price, and we're going to scroll up and grab the entry price. And then the indicator, there's our SMA. Let's set it to a 1 period. And now the offset is 0.0. Let's delete that. 0.0009. Yeah. Okay, 3 zeros and a 9. There we go. And the action. Yeah, so let's move that stop loss to, and we'll replace the ATR. Okay, there's our SMA, 1 period. And it's 0.02%. And since this is a break even, so break even with a positive number. So we actually want to put a positive value in the long factor here. There you go, 0.0002. All right, think we have it. Stretch out these columns here so I can take a look and read everything. Yeah, okay, so it's always a good thing to double check your work. So I can see here on step 3, I actually have an extra 0 in here. Yeah. There, let's take that extra 0 out. So that would be 0.2%. Right, so this converts to 0.2%. There. All right, so now I think the number of zeros looks correct. All right, so we have the stop loss for order set A all converted over. Well, we have the profit trigger and the stop loss trailing converted over to an approximate percentage. So let's get that, basically copied over to the stop loss for B, right? Our second profit target stop loss. So again, I'm just going to delete order B, and we're just going to copy A. And if we take a look at our stop loss, sometimes it's hard to grab this. There. Take a look, and if we kind of look at the settings here, yeah, we can see that we've got the SMA settings plugged in here. So great. So now I just need to go into the profit target, and actually, you know what? Let's go in and adjust all these profit targets. Yeah. Let's switch back over to the other screenshot here with the targets on them. So we want a profit target of 0.12%. So let's replace our ATR with this workaround formula. Let's see, yeah, there's the SMA. Add that down there. And again, make sure it's a 1 period SMA. And now our factor is going to be 0.0012. There. All right, so we have our first profit target converted over. And let's do the same thing with our second profit target. Yeah, again, I'm just going to delete that. Let's just do another copy. There we go. All right, so now I can just open the profit target, open the initial placement again, and this time we want 0.2. All right, so I'm just going to delete that 1. So 0.002 is what we want. That's 0.2%. And bingo, we should be done. All right. All right, let's save this before I go any further here. All right, so when we save these files, you guys can then download them later on after the workshop. Coming up with a good naming convention it's not as easy as it looks. All right, so I always like to try and at least kind of mention what kind of profit targets we got in here. All right, so I use PT for profit target. So we've got a 0.12% and a 0.2% profit target, and then the stop loss. Let's see, they're both 1% stop loss. Let's see, with 3-step trailing. Yeah, there's no way I could. It'd be an awful long file name if I tried to explain all the trailing. So we'll just leave it at that. All right. Yeah. So basically, yeah, this Blackbird file is, I guess, really its point is to convert an ATM percentage. It's kind of the workaround for an ATM using an ATM percentage. There. All right. So let's save that. And let's take this for a test spin. All right, well, I'm going to switch over to a simulated data feed so that way we can get some market movement here going. Simulated data feed. All right, let's get Blackbird up and running again. So there's Blackbird. We just need to enable it. And let's see, how about we take a long trade and move the market up a little bit. All right, so let's see, I'm on a 5 range and oh shoot, I thought I moved the trend up. Okay, let's do this again. Let's go long. There. And let's do some quick calculations to see if our stop loss prices and profit target prices are in the ballpark. So let's see, we're somewhere around 1482. Let's see, our stop losses. Oh, shoot. Hold on a sec. Oh, I didn't convert the stop losses over. Well, I didn't convert the initial placement of the stop loss over. So, hold on. Let's backtrack here. Yeah. There we go. So the initial placement is still set to the ATR. Yeah, so let's switch that over. There we go. So we want 0.001 as 0.1%. Okay. And let's convert this other one over. There. Okay, let's resave that. Okay, let's go long again. All right, let's get the calculator out. And so let's see, where are we at here? 1485 roughly times. All right, so that's an offset of 1.5 points essentially. Yeah, so let's see, 1.5 points. So we're at 85.2. So 83.7. Yes. All right. Worked out great. And let's see, this is our first profit target is 0.12%. All right, and that rounded off is 1.8 points. So 1.8 points. So 85.2. Yeah, it would be 87 even. All right. Great. So there you go, Theodore. You found a good workaround. All right. Well, guys, this was definitely an interesting workshop. Yep. The questions you guys come up with, I'd say, while I get a lot of common repeats, but, I do get the occasional question that just never stops to amaze me. So this is good stuff. This is kind of fun for me at least. So, you can always email your questions in ahead of time for these workshops. Just, try and explain your question with questions, with all the details, all the bells and whistles that you can provide, when you're talking about conditions, please don't be vague, be specific, because again, terminology in trading is so loosely interpreted, so in order to get the right answer, we need to know exactly, what your conditions are. Yeah, mainly just, if you email your questions in ahead of time, those emailed in questions get answered first in the workshops. So emailed questions they're addressed first, so it'll get you in the queue first. So, all right, gentlemen. Well, with that, have a good weekend, guys.